had a mom and her 2 daughters that were in from Colorado, and they decided to take a selfie with me while they were flashing their tops.
Really?
Yes.
Mom and 2 daughters.
A mom and 2 daughters.
Jeez. How old were they?
The 2 daughters had to be in their mid-20s, and mom was 40-ish.
Did they send you the picture?
Of course not. Of course they said they would, but they did not. So.
That is interesting.
And that's all good. It was all fun. It was here in Asheville, and just things like that happen in Asheville.
Like how they come to be there. It's like, let's do it with the driver.
Oh, yeah, they were just messing with me, just chatting it up. Here, we're going to take a selfie with you.
That's funny. God.
So that was pretty neat. That was really the only passion that I have that is my kids. And I've got 4 kids, and I'm very passionate towards them. Even though they through a divorce, I'm the outcast. So I'm not as much a part of their life as I need to be and want to be, and they are still very passionate to me.
To stay on Hilliard Avenue.
That's nice. They live here?
They do not live here. They all live either in Michigan or in Wisconsin.
So you're from the Midwest?
No, I lived up there a few years, and their mom was from the Midwest, so they stayed up there.
Okay. Where are you from?
I am an Air Force brat, so I was raised all over, mostly Texas and Oklahoma in my early childhood, and then Charleston, South Carolina for high school.
Okay.
And then I went in the Air Force, and they sent me up to Michigan, and that's how I became a Midwesterner for a while.
Cool. Did you fly the planes?
I did not. I was a site development specialist, which meant I was a surveyor and engineering assistant.
So you didn't want to do that when you got out? Because there's jobs in the private sector, I'm sure.
Well, I didn't want to survey, but I'm still using my skills that when I got out, I went back to school to the University of South Florida for mechanical engineering.
Okay.
And that's how I'm doing HVAC sales.
All right.
So I'm using my engineering degree toward sales mode.
So you a USF fan?
They did not have a football team when I was there. I was there a little early.
They got a good quarterback right now.
But they do have, yes. I like to watch them whenever I can, just to say.
Welcome back to another episode of Student of Life, the game show.
The show kicked off with an Uber drive, and though I did not take a selfie, next up I meet someone that is very interested in breakfast at Tiffany's.
Well, I'm working on a project called Find and Go Lightly, based on the novella Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Okay.
Most people think that it went down the way it went down in the movie, but Truman Capote actually said that Paramount double-crossed him in every way.
All right, so let's back up.
Yeah.
So Truman Capote was the author.
Yes.
He wrote Breakfast with Tiffany's.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Breakfast at Tiffany's. And I know him from that movie.
Yes. He was a Southern author.
Capote, right.
Yes.
I mean, I know him from the movie Capote, where he was writing that true crime book.
Yes.
And what's her name? His buddy she just wrote To Kill a Mockingbird?
Harper Lee.
Yeah, she wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. Okay, so
his best friend.
But he wrote Breakfast at Tiffany's before this.
Before In Cold Blood, yes.
Okay, and so he said what went down, what that now like gives.
In a half mile, continue straight through the roundabout.
When Paramount Pictures finished the movie, he said they double-crossed him in every way.
Like, okay.
Because at the end of the movie, the character Holly Golightly finds her cat and kisses the narrator of the story, and everything is peachy and rosy and what have you. So they kind of marry her off a little bit.
In a quarter mile, continue straight.
She actually left New York, went to Buenos Aires, and the last anyone heard of her, someone found a carved African head that they thought was her, that a tribe had carved, obviously, in where worship of her.
Whoa. So
Continue straight through the
he
roundabout
wrote
onto
all
Cable Road.
based on true stories.
Oh, yes, but Breakfast at Tiffany's was fiction.
Okay.
However, his main character, Holly Golightly, her real name was Lula Mae Barnes.
What do you mean real? Like in real life, it was based on that real life?
In the story, she leaves Texas. She runs away from Texas. Her name is Lula Mae Barnes, and she runs away from Texas and becomes this character, Holly Golightly, in New York.
Okay.
His mother's real name was Lily Mae Falk, but she didn't go by that either. So, in reality, this is probably a story that he wrote about his mother.
Okay.
His mother was disgraced and before losing her Park Avenue penthouse committed suicide. So he wrote this story about Holly Golightly, and she ends up being disgraced by this
In a quarter mile, make a right turn on Patton Avenue.
criminal she's involved with. But instead of killing herself, she gets a plane ticket and goes to Buenos Aires and has this amazing life as an adventuress.
That's how he wrote the book.
Yes.
And then when they made it into a movie, they changed it and said, no, we're going to have this happy ending.
Yeah, this Hollywood ending.
Hollywood ending, right, red light.
Yeah. So,
Okay, you're fine. Yeah.
researching what her travels would have looked like in Buenos Aires in Africa in the 1930s and 40s. I would say with the way people are using the word extra now,
Explain that, because someone else
she's
said that.
too extra.
What's that mean?
I think it means you're supposed to plane yourself down, so you can be more vanilla.
Make a right turn on Patton Avenue.
Okay. They're
So-
putting too much out there. They're
Yeah.
calling too much attention to themselves.
So I think it's a word that people who have a herd mentality use to describe people who are too extraordinary for them to process.
Okay.
Well, I had someone use the function of the driver
left turn
app
on Otis
that
Street,
lets
then
you
make a
tell
right
someone
turn
you
on
left
Wall
something
Street.
in their car to tell me that they would like to make my lady parts jump.
That was their exact
That
terminology?
was their exact terminology, which I think they borrowed maybe from like Walter Matthau or Jack Lemmon. I'm not sure. But probably one of those characters.
Interesting. So did you respond?
You know, I was like, it's very flattering, but no thank you. I'm not sure I even want
Make a
them
right
to
turn on
jump.
Wall Street.
That is nice. Yeah. You got a sports prediction?
Sports, I don't even have a sports bra.
How about your favorite movie line?
My favorite movie line, I can tell you that, and I really want to interview the screenwriter because it was not part of the book, Out of Africa.
Oh, yeah?
But I love the line, he likes to give presents, but never at Christmas.
Oh. That's good, too. Thank you. Oh, what was it from again?
Out of Africa.
Okay. You've been awesome. Thank you
Here,
so much.
Thanks. I'll give you a little...
Yeah. Okay. And that way I can be in touch and I can let you know when you might be on.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Have fun.
I will. Appreciate it.
Next up, we rejoin our old friend Keon.
Maybe it was the brother. Not Bobby, but one of the other two.
Well,
And one of them's coaching now, right?
Bobby's dead.
Bobby died.
Yeah, Bobby died as soon as he got see, most people don't know this, but the Under Armour clothing, like, you know, that Under Armour clothing,
Yeah.
that was, he was endorsing that when he got his contract to play pro ball. But what happened was he got into an accident one night where some people were drinking, coming through Country Village on his way home, which is not too far from my neighborhood in Jersey City, and got into a wreck and died. And so they named the street after him, and he's been dead for a while, so they changed that name because the H stood for Hurley. It didn't stand for Under Armour like most people think it does.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting. And did you know the Hurleys?
Yeah, I went to school with him.
Did you play for the team?
No, I played baseball.
Okay.
Basketball was never my thing. I had no handle. I couldn't dribble.
And people in New York have handles, crazy handles, more than anywhere in the country.
Well,
easily. Back then.
This might sound a little racist, but it's not. I grew up in an all-white neighborhood. So, you know, it was like, for me, it was more or less BMX bicycling. That was my thing. I loved to, you know, get on my bike, hit the trails, practice, race for American Bicycle Association, at that time ABA, indoor at the Armory in Montgomery in Jersey City during the wintertime, springtime, summertime, it'd be up at Braddock Park in North Bergen, and so that was my thing. Baseball I played because I, you know, always had stickball and all that stuff up there. And, you know, I was good at playing baseball as well, running track, bowling, basketball, football too, but basketball, I just couldn't get the...
Couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. I didn't have the patience to try to even, like, you know, to practice to become perfect. Like.
And yet you went to the you know, arguably the greatest high school basketball team, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, St. Anthony's for many, many years.
Right.
Always took it.
Right. It was them, or DeMatha in Maryland was also great.
Marist High School as well, because that was our sister school.
Oh, in New York. Okay.
Oh, no, Marist High School is actually in Bayonne, New Jersey.
Okay.
And at one time, it was an all-boys school. Then they.
Did you know of Archbishop Malloy? Were they good too? I think because Kenny Anderson wasn't the only star that went there. Before him was Kenny Smith.
No, I'm not familiar with the names.
It was probably just a little bit before you. You weren't. Maybe you weren't in the hoops at the time. You were into baseball. So you liked the Mets back then?
Yeah, I like the Mets. Strawberry.
Gooden.
Dwight Gooden, yeah.
I love Gooden. Yeah. I love Strawberry too for a little bit.
Yeah,
but like Gooden was just so. They were both really likable.
But I was more or less of a Yankee fan.
So then, did you like Gooden when he wound up on the Yanks too?
Yeah.
And he was decent, right? It was years after. Like it was a comeback for him, I think.
Yeah, it was with drug addiction and stuff like that. But yeah.
But like a good dude. I think he's a good dude.
Yeah, he is. Most people are. You know, that have addictions. They are good. Caught up into something that they wind up liking, thinking they're having fun, and then next thing you know, their life starts spiraling downwards.
Yeah, and he was like so young when he became so famous.
Yeah.
I feel like he was like 20 years old or something.
Yeah, he was. He was really young. Because I was like about, at that time, I had to be about 13, 14. I'm 46 now, so yeah, I had to be like 13, 14. Yeah, he was like amazing. Like, he was amazing as a pitcher. He was amazing.
Amazing.
And I've seen a couple coming down the street dressed as the Ghostbusters. Had the proton packs on their back, lit up and everything. Like it was like really working, all except for the streams. But like they were definitely giving that off, and it wasn't Halloween. It was nowhere near it. So like that was the craziest thing I've seen.
So you never. So the Ghostbusters. So there's real live Ghostbusters here.
Yeah. Oh, and then the next thing I seen was a Lazy Boy chair that had wheels, and dude was driving it, like sitting down, operating it, and the Lazy Boy with it kicked out, just laid back driving it. So yeah, absolutely.
Those are some of your friends?
Yeah, my boy Mitch.
Nice.
Yeah, my boy Mitch.
And they were driving on the road or on the sidewalk?
They were on the sidewalk, on the street. They were all over it. Yeah.
That's funny. I wonder if there's a seatbelt up in there.
I don't know, might have been.
To close out our show, we're back with Randy, Mr. Charlotte to Vegas. And one last note, though, about the Keon interview we just did. We have really great news for Keon. Bobby Hurley is indeed alive.
From Cuba. Do you still know people over there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't necessarily remember them or have a relationship with them or an ongoing daily dialogue.
Do you have like family still over there?
Yeah, grandparents. I actually just spent about $500 to do an invitation for them to come over here. So I'm working on that now. You have to invite them, they have to get approved, and then you got to pay for the ticket.
And we just need to have good. I just wish it would be a good thing for both countries to have, a better relationship. I mean, I know that there's been steps recently,
Right.
but like it could be great for America.
Yeah.
Especially for Florida. Just like for all the Cuban Americans.
I agree. It would make life a lot easier for them over there.
Yeah. It would help their economy. Cuba's it would be. I know Cuba has. People in this country have views on it when we don't really know. Like, we have misguided views of what Cuba's like. Like, it's a lot better of a place than the way people think of it. But it still would probably, the tourism could fucking explode over there.
It could. It's very fun. It's always been very inexpensive to go there, and everything there is very expensive. It's pretty safe too. It's not like it's dangerous to go over there. Good culture, good food. But I guess having a dictator, they've only had.
That's not good.
Not good. Last time I went was in 2008, like I told you, and I had just stepped off the plane, and there was some rhetoric being pushed around by Fidel at the time that gas prices in Cuba were going up because we were on the edge of North Korea with our, bombers and Navy ships. And
meaning the U.S.
Yeah, this is back in 08.
Okay.
It's a complete lie, utter lie.
And that was the reason why gas
was going up there.
Okay.
And, and they only have two channels, two communist channels. So they only get fed.
That's it. The only TV you can get.
And they've never had internet till last year, the year before, where they started doing Wi-Fi at the park. So you can go to the park and do like Wi-Fi.
And then it's like probably watched and probably only certain sites and stuff.
Yeah, so there's a real lack of communication, and that really kind of obstructs things both ways because we can't really see what goes on over there, and they don't really have access to information and what's relevant and what's true and what's not.
A friend of mine goes over there. His ex-girlfriend would do these like tours, where it'd be like, there's a certain amount of approved tours that can take Americans over there. So she was like a tour leader, and he went not too long ago, and he said that inside the houses, you're required to have a photo of Castro up, and you could tell the people that are down with Castro as opposed to people that hate him, because the people that are down with him have like giant beautiful pictures everywhere or whatever, and the people that hate him still have the picture because it's law, but it will be like a tiny little picture in the bathroom like by the shitter or something.
By the shit.
I don't know, is that truth? Do you remember
that doesn't really ring a bell to me. I never really heard it, but it might just be so instituted in their daily lives that it's not something they even talk about or even point out. I don't recall that. But I'll tell you what though, for example, in Spanish culture, they always talk about how people live together or whatever. But one of the reasons is in Cuba, you can't just go out and buy a house. You either live with your parents or you wait for them to die, and then you inherit that property, and it's never an option to go out and just.
Right. It's not a booming industry where you can go buy stuff. It's all government. The government controls it all, more or less.
Correct. You get more time for killing a cow than you do a person. Not because you get more time for killing a cow than a person. Yeah, and not because it's sacred or anything, but just because they don't want you eating red meat. So it's, kind of political bullshit.
Huh. Jeez. So does the rest of your family that's still there want to get out, or are they cool with being there?
Of course,
everyone wants to get out.
Of course.
Okay, of course.
But, it's not easy.
Right.
It's not cheap either.
Right. And as you get older, it's probably harder.
Right. For example, my grandparents, there is certain benefits to having a communist country. Especially at an old age, healthcare. They don't pay $1 for that. Everything's fairly inexpensive. There's no food, no access to medicine. Medicine's all right. They have pretty good doctors, but food's rationed. You only get a certain amount of food per month. Most of the Cuban culture steals from the government because it's all government owned, so why the fuck not? If you work at at a bakery, you steal the flour, you steal the eggs. You work at a fucking sock factory, you steal socks, you barter.
Interesting.
And and even supervisors and managers are in that because they're not better off than anybody else. A doctor makes $21 a month.
Who does?
A doctor. In Cuba, the taxi drivers are considered the 1%.
Really?
So,
Or if you're high up in the government.
Hello,
That's
this is
it.
the first officer's activity. So we just
Right.
came in for Miami. We had a mechanical trying to leave out of Miami about 3 hours late getting in here. So we're just going to get this thing fired up and hopefully get it cooled down. Should some cold air coming. The ground power unit wasn't pushing any good cold air, but I got the APU started up.
You have a card or something?